Good morning, scholars. Today we're going to continue our way through Far's Homeric Greek, looking at lines 331 to 344 of Iliad Book 1. This is where Achilles addresses the two heralds that have been sent by Agamemnon. To mentar besante kai adomeno basile a staten. Ude temen prosepone on ude ere onto. Autar ho egnos we sen ene fresen bone sente. Cairete geruges dios angeloi ede kai andron. A son it. Utemoi humes epaidioi al Agamemnon, hosfoe pro ie, briseidos henekakures. Al agediogenes patrocles, ex agekurein, kai svo in dosagen, to dauto martyroi eston, prosteteon makaron, prostethneton anthropon, kai pros tu basileos apeneos e pote de aute, cre o eme o genedai, aweke aloi gonamunai tois alois, ega ho goliloie se frase due, udete voide no esai, hama proso kai opiso, hopos voi para neusi, so oi make onto akaioi. Okay. To menta besante, kai ido meno basile. So here we have tarbeo, which is to be in fear or terror. So to menta besante describes the two heralds, how terrified they were to be face to face with Achilles. So hooked up with the verb of the following line, the main verb, are dual, staten. They stood, struck with terror. Tarbesante staten. Idomeno is a dual, plural, aorist participle from ideomai, to hold in reverence or honor, to stand in awe of, to respect or fear. So this line very much expresses the fear, awe, even terror that the two heralds who were given this dirty job by Agamemnon actually experience now that they are face to face with Achilles. Staten udetemen prosepone on ud ere onto. So staten, of course, is second aorist dual from histeme. They just stood there, or they, stopped and stood still. Prosponeo is to speak to or address or accost. And we have udetemen, double accusative of the person addressed and what is said. So udetemen, not at all anything did they address him. Udetemen prosepon neon. Ud ere onto. And ere onto is our third plural imperfect from eromai, which is to ask a question or inquire. So they simply let their presence do the speaking. Autar ho Agnoe sen anifresen pone sente. So here we have a rather unusual case of hiatus, which here allowed rarely after the first foot. So altar ho, but he, and the ho, of course, is Achilles. And then down at the bottom we see that when employed either as a personal pronoun or demonstrative, the forms ha, he, hoi, hi cease to be proclitic. That is, they cease to attach themselves strongly to the following word. So here, and they get accented as such with the, as explained at Smythe 180 note. So altar ho, agno we sen anifrasen, pone sen te. Kai rete ke rukes de os angeloi e de kai andron. So kai rete is just a way that you say hello, welcome, hail, greetings. As Cunliffe explains, it's an expression of greeting, welcome, or salutation to a person arriving or on encountering a person. So it's equivalent to hello, greeting. It's a greeting. So angelos, of course, is a messenger or envoy. Kai rete ke rukes. So ke rukes is here vocative. You messengers. Dios angeloi ede kai androi. And this Dios angeloi ede kai andron is in opposition to the ke rukes. Ason it utemoi humes ep aitioi al Agamemnon. Ason is nearer, and it's adverbial with ite, which is the imperative of aim and to go, or so come nearer, come closer. Ason it utemoi humes, and humes equals humes. It's an Iolic form, I believe. Utemoi humes ep aitioi al Agamemnon. So ep aitios is blameworthy, to blame. Here we see the dignity and reasonableness of Achilles. He says, you guys aren't at fault here. You guys aren't to blame, but rather Achilles. There's that famous expression, killing the messenger. Well, Achilles isn't going to do that. So, u te moi humes epaitioi al Agamemnon, hos pho I pro e, brise idos henekakures. So, spo is our second person dual accusative, and you two, the two of you. So the ho refers to Agamemnon. He pro e svo he sent forth you two. So pro e, to send forth or dispatch on a specific mission or task. From pro hemi, bri se edos heneka kures. Heneka, of course, can be embedded between bri se edos heneka kures, and heneka being for the sake of. So ho svo pro e bri se edos heneka kures. Al agete ogenes patrocles ex age kuran. So here Achilles turns his attention away from the heralds, who he's freed from blame and therefore from fear, and he turns to Patroclus, is vocative, and Diogenes, sprung from Zeus, al-age. We've seen al-age introducing an imperative ex-age, but come. And so he says to Patroclus, ex-age kurein. Ex-age, from ex-ago, to lead or bring out, to conduct forth. Al-age Diogenes Patrocles ex-age kuren. Kai spo in dos agen. To dao to materoi eston. So let's look at the first part of this. Kai spo in dos agen. Now, the forms of the dual personal pronouns are worth looking into. And again, Homer has specialized forms that are treated in addition to the Attic forms. And you find these in Smythe at 325 D1. So he says, Homer inflects the personal pronoun as follows. And I put the singulars down so you could just remind yourselves of ego and su and the various forms of the third singular that begin with epsilon, or digamma if we want to include that. But then looking at the dual, that's really what we're concerned with. We have we two, nominative, accusative, genitive, datives. Remember, in the dual, the nominative and accusative have the same forms, and the genitive and dative share forms. So we have the first person dual, we two, beginning with new, but then the second person dual, you two, svo, in the nominative and accusative, and svoin, in the genitive and the dative, but note that those are accented. Whereas in the third dual, those two, we have enclitic forms, spo in the nominative accusative, and spoen in the dative and genitive. So here, what we see, and you can tell by the chi, which has the grave, the acute, kai spoen, dos agen. It doesn't become grave because it's before the enclitic. So this means that we're dealing with the third person dual, spoen, enclitic, and it will be the dative form because dos, didomi, give to them. So as we see, dos is our second aorist singular imperative active, and we see the forms of the imperative of didome in the second aorist. On the left you have the active, on the right you have the middles. So dos, doto, doton, doton, dote, and doton. So here, dos, you, Patroclus, give her to them. And dos agen, with the infinitive may express purpose. So give her to them. Why? For the purpose of leading away, to take. Kai svo en dos agen. Okay. To dauto materoi eston. So eston is our third person dual imperative of eme. Let these two be martyroi. Remember, you can always have just a plural, you can have the plural noun form. So martyroi is our predicate noun. Let these two be witnesses. To autoi, let these same ones be witnesses. To, dauto are dual forms. Martyroi are plural forms. Eston are dual form of the verb. So it's a bit tricky, but once you get used to the fact that a dual noun can be modified by a plural or a dual verb or predicate, then you're pretty much have the flexibility to deal with this. So, to, dauto, martyroi, eston, prostheteon makaron, prostheneton anthropon. Now here, I just want to grab a bit of the entry from the middle, Liddell and Scott, of pros with the genitive. You see at 3, so pros with the genitive can mean before, in the presence of, in the eyes of. And here we have this very passage, quoted by Liddell and Scott. Prostheteon makaron, prostheneton anthropon. And likewise, in number 4, in supplication and adjuration, protestation, and oaths, it can be before or by. So it's very important under usage of pros with the genitive in swearing and in, just saying who you're going to be a witness in the eyes of. So prostheteon makaron, prostheneton anthropon. And makaron, of course, is genitive plural from makar, makaros. This is an epithet of the gods: happy, blessed, living at ease, dwelling secure. Okay. Natos, nata, on the other hand, applies to men, mortal, or liable to death. And anthropos is your general expression for human being or person, unlike aner, andros, which refers to man, i.e. the masculine, courageous, gendered, very much gendered to the masculine side of things. Anthropos is the more general word for human being. So prostheteon makaron, prostheneton anthropon. Kai pros tu basile os apene os, e potede aute. So, tu is here demonstrative. Kai pros tu basile os. And in the eyes of that guy, the king. And what type of king? Apene os, the harsh, unfeeling. Apenes, apenes. Apeneos is genitive. E pote de aute. And so Denniston tells us regarding de. De precedes the temporal adverb which it stresses. And emphatic de normally emphasizes the word it immediately follows, but it is less rigidly tied down to its position than ge. Okay. So, e pote de aute basically says, if, ever, indeed, at some time, or subsequently. E pote de aute, cre o eme o genetai, awe ke aloi gonamunai toisalois. So, cre o, cre us. You should check out the inflection of this at Smythe 279. It means call, the demand, the need, the longing. So creo, meo, if need of me. So you're going to have the meo of me in the genitive. You have need of something. Genetai. And so, epotete aute genetai. Goodwin Moods and Tenses explains that simple a, with or without ke or an, is sometimes used with the subjunctive in future conditions in Homer. Apparently, in the same sense as eke or ain. Only 9 instances occur, and the more common use of the simple a with the subjunctive in Homer appears in general suppositions. So you can get more of this at Goodwin 468. But, so a pote de alte cre o meo ganetai. And what will the need be? The need here is explained by this infinitive, awekea logon amunai. Awekea, of course, is accusative singular. Here we have, you can check the inflection of this at Smythe 292, and generally Homer leaves these stems in epsilon sigma open or uncontracted. And then loigos, we've seen this word already, bane, evil, death, destruction. But previously it was referring to the plague that Apollo had sent upon the Greeks, but now it becomes this huger bane, evil, death that's going to fall upon the whole Achaean army because of Achilles' absence from the battle. So logos, evil, destruction, death. And amunai, from amuno, to ward off or defend. Let's look at the entry for amuno, because it's a very good word. So 1, in the active, it means to avert, to ward off, and mainly it's with the genitive, to ward off tenos, to ward off something from someone. But you also get an loigon dana oise, to ward off destruction from the Greeks. So you see the dative, which is what we have here, tois alois, logon amunai tois alois. And so also aste e nele es hemar, to remove the day of destruction from the city. Asteia is dative of the city or town. But more rarely, tetenos, ke res tenos, to repel the fates from anyone, to ward off throas neon, to ward off the Trojans from the ships. And also you can have the genitive alone, amunen neon, to defend the ships. Also you can have amuno, amunen, peritenos, to fight for someone, i.e. avenge him. And sometimes, without the dative of person, to amunen ponon kakon, to ward off evil, slaughter. And he says, see, oftener the dative stands alone, to fight for anyone. So we'll see that quite a bit once we do get to the fighting. But amuno is a very important verb. We'll see it quite a bit as we go forward. So, e pote de alte cre o meo genetai, awekea loigon amunai toisalois. E ga ho go loe se frese tu e. So oloios, oloie, or loion is deadly, destructive, from the same stem we've seen in olume, i.e. from the opening lines, line 2 actually, meinen a edete a, ulomenen, the same stem, destructive, deadly. Duo is to rush or to run, and thus oloe se frase tu e can be translated, he rushes on with destructive mind. The dative, like I say, is often an adverbial case here, reflecting the manner of Agamemnon's behavior. So, Ega ho go loi e se frase du e. And so we see the ge here, Ega ho ge, from Denniston, page 122. Quote, Neo remarks that in Homer, ge occurs after pronouns much oftener than any other combinations. So we see this ha, the way it's accented. It's not the definite article, which wouldn't have the, well, it could have got the accent from the ge, but this ha, it is very often second in the Homeric sentence or line. And for here we have the favorite use is to have ge with the second of two pronouns or with a pronoun preceded by a particle or by particles. So here the pronoun ha, i.e. he, this guy Agamemnon, is preceded by the particles he gar. He, of course, being, indeed, emphatic, the emphatic yes indeed, gar, and for, giving the reason for the previous statement, that Hagar, ho, go, loi, e, sen, frasi, du, e. The guy's crazy. Udete voide no e sai, hama proso kai opiso. So voide, of course, is from oida, to see or to know, with its various stems. You can compare English with that O, Latin with that O, and English witty video to hear the digamma, and na e sai, first aorist active infinitive. Ude te voide no e sai. So, not at all, and not at all does he consider, no eo, to consider, to take into consideration, hama praso kai alpiso, both forward and back. That is to say, he has no perspective. He's just, lost in his impulse, his immediate impulse. Alpisto, hama prosesto kai alpiso. So reminds us of a certain president of the United States at this moment. Ude te voide no esai, hama prosto kai alpiso. Hopos voi paraneu si so oi make onto kakaioi. So oi, of course, is a predicate adjective. Os, safe, secure. And hopos make ointo, from Goodwin. The use of the optative for the subjunctive in final clauses after primary tenses is very rare and is to be viewed as a mere irregularity of construction. Most of these are amended by various editors, and no good reason for the anomaly appears in any of them. Okay, so he does not like this optative. He would be much happier with the more vivid subjunctive. Hopos voi para neusi so oi make onto akaioi. He doesn't know how to look, to consider, backwards and forwards, how, in what way, in what manner the Achaeans will fight safely beside their ships. And the voi, of course, is dative, referring to Agamemnon's interest in this general strategic success of the army. Okay. So to men tarbe sante, kai aidomen no basile a staten, ude temen prosepone on, ude ere onto, altar ho egno we sen enifresen pone sente, kai rete ke rukes, de os angeloi edecai andron, a son it utemoi humes epaitioi al agamemnon, hosfo I pro ie, brise edos henekakures, al agediogenes patrocles, ex agecurhen, kai svo in dos agen. To dauto martyroi eston, prostete on macaron, prostetne ton anthropon, kai prostu basile os apene os pote de aute. Cre o emeo genetai, aweke aloi gonamunitos alois. Ega ho goleie sefrase due, udete voide no esai, hama prosto kai hopiso, hopos voi paraneu si, so oi make onto akaioi. Okay, so there we have it, and here we have an absolutely beautiful relief sculpture of the two heralds leading away Briseidas. You see all the way on the left, you see Achilles, and these the way he's stationed is proleptic. It's pointing forward to the fact that he's soon going to be beseeching his mother over the injustice he suffered. And then you have the two heralds with the girl. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You have first, the other naked figure is Patroclus, who's handing over Briseis to the herald. And I'm not actually sure who the figure on the far right is. My first impulse was to think it was the other of the herald. I mean, one of them, you're seeing the not duplicity, but the ambiguity of the heralds. The one is just simply going about his task, but the other is looking down in shame, kind of remorseful of the task. So you see the fact of the bifurcation of mentality among the two heralds who've been sent. How, on the one hand, they have to do what Agamemnon tells them, but at the same time, the one looking down, in a way, he knows that this is going to be disastrous for the Greek army. So this is an amazing piece of art, which really captures just this whole part of the narrative, that is, especially with Achilles about to approach his mom for some type of justice. Okay, so there we have it. Have a good day, and I'll see you again soon as we continue this wonderful portion of the poem. Bye-bye.